I will call the regular meeting of the Irmo Town Council to order, and I will lead us, I guess my turn, I will lead us in the pledge of allegiance and the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we thank you, Lord, for this time to come together. We ask you, Lord, to guide us, give us wisdom, Father, in all that we do. We thank you, Lord, for our military and for those out there in the uniform, whether it be police officers or firemen, Lord, whoever are out there serving and protecting us, Lord, to give us this time to be here. And we just thank you. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
We're ready for you.
Next item is the reading of the minutes of February 3rd. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
And any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor then of the minutes being approved as written, do so with show of hands. Next item is the administrative brief. Mr. Brown, do you have anything you want to add?
Just two things, Mr. Mayor. We currently finished the picnic shelter and the new playground in the park, so we're going to be spending $4,000. Not budgeted, but they put more cameras up to cover those two areas over there. Also, the two grants for Richmond County have been put in, the accommodation grant and the hospitality grant, $60,000.
Are we going to put a kiosk at that picnic shelter as well?
We've been looking into it, like the others, they're like $3,500 a piece.
I think it would be important, being the other one actually maintains a list of what's going on there, so people can see that other people do
I look at it
reserve
every
it.
time I walk by there.
Okay. I get some prices firmed up.
Any questions about the administrative briefing?
$4,000 for what?
We have to buy 2 more cameras. The part of the surveillance system that we have in the park.
Speaking of cameras, drunk and safe.
The cameras we got down there won't be able to run down there?
They don't get the picnic shelter or that into the park goes by where the word's name is. They're concentrated on the old playground, the other picnic shelter, the walking trails over by each one of the parking lots, but not the picnic shelter, nor the new park playground in the middle. No cameras covered.
Oh, the new playground.
The new playground and the new picnic shelter. Because the camera that we have by the new parking lot by the new picnic shelter hits the parking lot and the entrance, not the shelter.
How many do you need? 4? You said 2 of each?
Well, they come in 4 camera boxes. Each box is $2,000.
So you
Same,
need 4 boxes.
2 boxes,
2 boxes.
8 cameras.
8 cameras.
They give you a 360 view.
Okay.
So that'll be fine. Just gonna try to get them in this week. I'm sure the weather may slow down.
Sure.
Any other questions, Mr. Brown? Next item is receipt of communication. Anyone have any receipt of communication?
Yes. We've all gotten emails from the United States Army about Mr. Carson, and now I'm getting it from people here in Irmo. I got one today for us to please do something, and I don't want them to think we don't want to do anything. I just don't know what it is we want to do. And what if we honored we can't afford to honor all the World War II veterans, but maybe Mr. Moore might make us a deal on a bench or his park.
Absolutely.
And we could honor Mr. Carson along with everybody else at Guadalcanal.
I'd love to do that.
Something like that. Hey, are y'all in agreement with that? What do you want to do?
Well, that may be, because I think it's going to be a perpetual thing.
Yeah?
You know, we have had other young men, I don't think any women, correct me if I'm wrong, but other young men that served in the armed forces that graduated from our schools here that served the ultimate price for us,
This
for our
is
freedom.
At Irmo High School.
Right, that's what the name just skipped me right now, but we've had that. It might be something as opposed to a bench that would have a limited amount of space, some type of monument type thing that we could continually add plaques to in remembrance.
You know, it seems to me that Al Karst is kind of a special kind of veteran. He was
Yes.
a member of council. He did so much for the youth. What I was going to follow up with Kathy said, I think those benches cost $750, don't they, Whit?
Or more.
My law, if the town would be willing to go halves with us, my law firm will pay half the money, and y'all pay half the money, and we could put a bench or maybe a table with something. We could put some sort of bench or monument or something in the Veterans Park. I'll pay half of it. I'll pay up to $500 for Al Karst. I mean, that, and you're talking about a deal. If y'all, we'll match up to 50%.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else wants to chip in or the town wants to chip in or whatever, but if we're going to do it, I guess it'd be nice to do it while he's still living.
Yeah. And maybe a monument where we could add, you know, I don't know the best way to do it, but we have quite a few veterans, World War II,
Look,
in town.
We'll pay half up to $500.
I'm gonna tell them we're dealing with it.
Y'all figure out what to do, and we're in.
Okay, thank you, Jake.
Sure.
Any other received communication? Being none, next item is presentation by citizens. This is where anyone who wants to address Irmo County Council on anything that's on their agenda may do so at this time. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record, and then what item you want to address.
Could I address you one more time? This is under addressing receipt of communications. I have a communication that would be of interest to you. If y'all will remember the house over in Friarsgate that burned, that had the swimming pool in the backyard, we sued the owner of that house, and we have gotten a default judgment against them. I have since heard from the people who own that house. They have a proposed purchaser for the house who's either going to renovate it or tear it down. And they asked what we wanted. And I told them if they just pay the fees and costs connected with it and give us a specific time frame when they'll have it, the town would be satisfied. Am I correct in that? I mean, all we wanted was the house fixed, isn't it?
Was there any of the house left, or was we kind of just foundation basically, or?
The house, the fire went through the roof, at least a portion of it. I talked to the purchasers, and they think they can repair it. I talked to the owner, and they say that they've now decided they're gonna knock it down. But they're gonna sell it for like $2,500, and the people who are taking it are excited about it. So I've told them that they'll just pay the fees and costs. We'll be happy as long as they will give us a defined time, which is gonna be, so it looks like that problem's being corrected. If not, we'll still moving forward to getting an order from the court, which we haven't gone to court yet. But let us knock it down and will give us a lien. So that problem appears to be getting rectified.
Good.
Is that the one at 131 Wickwood?
That's it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone who'd like to, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Larry Cope. I haven't been here in quite a while. Is it okay for me to do this now?
No, sir. We need to
Okay.
wait until the end of, there's another presentation by citizens for what you want to discuss.
Thank you.
That's Mr. Cole.
Okay. Anyone who would like to address council on anything on the agenda? Seeing none. Next item is unfinished business, second reading, ordinance 1502, and I guess I'll see if there's a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion for second reading of ordinance 1502.
I need to ask a question. Didn't we change something, or we didn't?
No, because you can't change it first reading. I think we just decided to do,
This isn't the one Jake was gonna do something with, or?
well, this is.
This is what Jake recommended
Okay,
that we do.
okay, forget that, excuse me.
So is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, and I'll start with Councilman Hoops.
Well, this is one that helps clarify the position of administrator to the orchestra. There was concern that the ordinance did not specifically indicate that an administrator was possible, and this is kind of the wording that the town attorney said we needed to do to facilitate that, and that's where we are.
Anyone else want to discuss? I think you made
Don't
the
say you
second.
read it, don't say you read the ordinance up, you didn't say we want to read the ordinance.
Well, at first reading I did, because.
And I read it first reading.
A bunch of people were here, and all. But if you want to, you can, yeah. I think I'm looking at the right one here, let's see. Yeah. Any discussion?
So we don't need to read the ordinance.
You can.
I'd have to go back to the last.
Last meeting I was on.
And the only thing I know, what Kathy was talking about, we had discussed making changes to it, but we basically don't do it first reading, but I think we agreed to put it on for second, and then we could make the changes we needed.
Yeah, I had mentioned a possible, because of the question came up about whether the administrator would be a professional service or not. I mentioned we could add that. The town attorney said the same thing. We could add that as part of it, but I did not at this point, because I think it was the feel of council that if they move forward with that, that it would be something that would need to be bid out. But I do have it up here, if anybody wishes to read it in its entirety, I'll be glad to do that.
Well, the only concerns I have, one is still whether we actually need one or not. But if I'm reading this correctly, and I may be wrong, because it says it will be contracted, would mean that if we pass this, then the orchestra would have to have an administrator. Is that correct?
No.
They wouldn't have to have one, they just.
But if they decided they needed one, it would be there. It wouldn't be something where we've gone down that road before, where it said, well, it's not spelled out. And I believe I'm correct in my interpretation. I look for the town administrator, because he would be the one that has to keep us on the straight and narrow.
Harvey, you probably ought to say may contract instead of will contract.
Well, that's one thing I had circled is shall, may, or can, and I don't know which one of those is better or worse or whatever.
And may be contracted.
I should be may. See if we authorize them if decided to do so.
And the other thing, what I'll do is, we'll discuss this thing, and then we can make amendment with maybe all the changes at one time, or do them separately. The only thing I wasn't sure about either, 100%, the way it is right now, and I think from previous contracts and even from what Kirk has said as the chairman, it seems to be vague, and maybe this clarifies it some, but who's responsible for getting the new sponsorships or additional sponsorships or that kind of stuff? I feel like that needs to be more clarified as to, is that something the administrator does, or is that something the commission does, the chairman or the commission itself as a whole? But it's always kind of been one of those that I don't think nobody really had that responsibility, so it seemed like it fell between the cracks. I personally still think for this year we can do without, but if we're going to add it to the ordinance so that it is in there, then I think we ought to at least have that clarified so it's a little bit more clear.
Well, the last paragraph, Mr. Mayor, says the administrator, under the duties and functions, it says the administrator will ensure the collection of all required fees and implement a plan to obtain the maximum sponsorships, donations, and available grants.
But if they come up with a plan, then my question would be, who carries it out, them or the commission? So it wouldn't really be based on this. They could come up with a plan, but it would still be the commission's responsibility maybe to carry it out, I guess.
Right.
And that may be.
I think this deals with the administrator, not the commission.
Okay. Any other discussion from anyone? Any other changes or?
Well, being I made the motion, I would make an amendment under the add to section 2-262 membership, paragraph D, an administrator is authorized and may be contracted. Strike the word will and replace it with may.
I put it as a professional services, you put that in there, didn't
No, I didn't ask you a professional service. I had not put that in there, being the desire of council as a whole was to have it bid out.
So there's a motion to amend will to may. Is there a second? And I'll second that.
So,
you? You know what it is?
yeah, I got it.
No, I got it as professional services in here.
Mine says it's.
Somebody must have gone in, did anybody go in and try to correct it?
I may have.
Because it's on,
In my
I think,
notes.
and then, I think it was
And
on
did the
every
cloud
office.
make it with everybody? Okay.
Because I was looking, I thought,
apologize, I will not attempt to correct anything like
So is
that
it,
again.
I was worried that maybe just I maybe had it wrong.
No,
But no, it wouldn't be in there because what was on the
well,
thing last month is the one.
I'm just saying, it's in ours.
Right.
well, I am taking it out of,
No, so you're leaving it in, I was gonna leave it in there, that's what I thought you were gonna do.
I took it out,
Okay.
so. I don't know, I'll take the cloud to correct everybody, but I was trying some software that let me make notes, and apparently it sent it to everyone.
Mr. Mayor, did you have that repeated again? What was changed?
We just changed paragraph D from will be to may be.
You read the whole thing out, please?
An administrator is authorized and may be contracted.
Okay.
So that's the only change right now, is that right?
Just changed.
Okay, but everything's missing but the little H. Whoever did that, take the little H out.
Okay. Okay.
So
Thank
we'll vote on this amendment. Then all in favor of the amendment to add may instead of will, do so show of hands. And so now we're back to the original with the change from will to may. Any other discussion?
And this means, it's not necessarily meaning there will be an administrator hired, it's just, it's in place if and when or we may hire an administrator. This, the ordinance is in place so it can be ready to go.
Yeah, that's my understanding of that. And I guess too, from what you're saying, is if we do decide to do administrator, then we would bid it or whatever. Is that?
Correct. But now that we changed it, you may contract it, so you may bid it. You don't have to.
I'll say that again now. I'm confused.
When we had it written that you will be contracted and
Well, it may be
compensated,
contracted,
and now it may be,
maybe contracted, but still have to be bid.
doesn't say that.
Well, according to the dollar amount, it would.
And we know what one to pay.
Yeah.
See, we don't know.
Yeah.
You don't have a firm figure,
Right.
we don't have a dollar
So
amount.
if it's under 10,000, you wouldn't have to bid it.
But you don't know what the cost is if you're bidding it out. Request for bid will be, they will come to you and say, I'll do that job for X amount of money. So I'm saying there's two ways to bid it. One is you can bid it out with a cost saying, we have a position, we're gonna pay this amount of money to do this job. The other way is to bid it out and say, we need somebody to come do this job. Who wants to do it? And they'll give you a figure and say, I'll do it for whatever. That's what the difference is.
But if we get, say, 3 people, like if you go down that thing where you, I don't say call up people, whatever, and you get 3 verbal quotes, and they're all over, say, 10,000, then you have to bid it.
We have
If
to
it's
have
under
that.
10,000, then you could accept one.
Correct.
Any more discussion? All in favor then of second reading of ordinance 1502 as amended, do so with show of hands. Next item is new business. And this one is staff, I'll go ahead and do that one. It's approval to renew a contract with Central Midlands Council of Government to provide planning consultants to the town in the amount of $12,500. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
And second.
Second.
Any discussion? This is pretty much the same thing we do every year. And is the price the same, or to go up any, or is it pretty much the same?
Same price it was last
Same
year.
price.
Yeah, same price
Same
last
price
2 years,
as
I think, yeah.
Okay.
How much is that?
12,500.
You need to bid that?
No. Well,
What is
we had other people.
It is a professional
Yeah, but it is
service.
a
That is.
planning consultant.
Provided by, Central Midlands.
Can you find anybody cheaper?
You never know.
I think when it was originally done, when this was done, it was a
Last
whole lot
time we bid it,
cheaper.
Dean Bismore was gonna do it for like 20,000.
Yes.
Yeah, this was
a much cheaper,
plus it's a professional organization that we,
that's what he does.
yeah,
Trust.
trust. Right.
So, any more discussion? All in favor then of the approval of the contract with Central Midlands in the amount of $12,500, do so with show of hands. Next item is, this is staff as well. Approval to purchase in-car laptops from Convergent Technology Group in the amount of $59,922.72. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And I will let Mr. Brown tell us about this.
Well, actually, I'm gonna let the chief explain his part, but, this is it's budgeted for $80,000, so we're under budget in a state contract, so not required to bid he has three quotes. You want to tell me what it does?
Yeah, this is, if y'all remember back 8-9 years ago, we purchased a bunch of laptops from one of our police cars. They were Panasonic Toughbook laptops. They were old and refurbished at the time we bought them because that made them very inexpensive and fit within our budget. They had just worn out. They are Windows XP computers. They have very slow processors. XP, they stopped support on that last year, and so we just need to modernize these. Again, this is well under budget. We get laptop computers and all the mounting hardware to install them in the cars.
Will every officer have the same laptop?
Yes.
Will they be able to communicate and with each other? Should they be on duty together or?
I mean, like email and text
Yes.
messages. They all have email, and they can access their email over the internet. They don't have to have their computer to do that.
Okay.
But you know, we encourage them if they got to talk to each other to use the radio
Okay, okay.
or a telephone or something like that.
Maybe face to face.
I like for them to be able to talk.
So this will go in every car, so it'll replace
All the
all the
marked
old
cars.
ones and all the cars.
This would go in all the marked cars. That's correct.
Smart car, okay. Any more questions? All in favor then of the purchase of the laptops with an amount of $59,922.72, do so with show of hands. Next item, this is also staff, approval of budget amendment to upgrade the police department radios through Motorola in the amount of $6,608.85. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Second. I'll let Bob or Chief explain this one too, I guess.
Well, I'll do the same thing I did last time. This is no cost to us. The reason that we have it on the agenda is because we have to pay up front. We've already received the grant for the exact same amount for this upgrade.
Okay, I have is this the little thing that's in the car that they pick up and talk, or is this the little thing that's on their shoulder?
Both.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Is this the P25 upgrade?
Yes.
Okay.
Any more questions? All in favor then of that in the amount of $6,608.85, do so with show of hands. This may be a little bit mute now, but we had, at our last meeting, this is the discussion regarding town staff handling the responsibilities of the orchestra administrator. At our last meeting, we kind of, I think Paul mentioned something about having the staff do it, and I think Kathy did, we talked a little bit about it. And I think one of the questions I have, and maybe we need to discuss a little bit, is, you know, the responsibilities that the orchestra commission has, and then therefore whatever they don't do, that's what the administrator does. And if Bob has to do it, even if he has to do it before we get through with the other thing and get it out of whatever hair somebody, it seems to be a confusion maybe with us as to whether Bob can do it or not, whether Kim Helper can do, or the staff, let's just say staff. But are you saying you can do it? Are you saying there's certain things you can do and certain things you can't do? Or has anybody got any questions about what all that entails? In my mind, and I'll just start with me, when the stuff gets on the internet and people want to be an orchestra and they download that application and then they fill it out and send it back into us, what I was thinking was when that stuff comes in, Kim would get it, log it in, do that kind of stuff to keep up with it. As far as Bob, whatever the orchestra commission, when they meet and they decide that certain things have to get done the next day or the next day or the next day or whatever. And some of those things, maybe the orchestra commission can't do it, maybe they can, maybe they can't. But for whatever things they can't do, then they ask Bob to do those things for them, kind of like us here. You know, we make a decision and we tell Bob to go do that. That's my thinking, is he would do those things there. I don't know that, in my mind, that there would be that many things that he would have to do for them that maybe they can't do, even for the 1 year, that they might not be able to step up to the plate and do some more of it. But that's kind of what I was thinking. And I don't know if that's what y'all were thinking too. But if we're going to move down that road, then I think we need to make sure we know what we're asking Bob to do, or the staff to do, and better have a better idea. And I know you got a lot of knowledge on that. You might be able to tell us what all he has to do that we're not aware of, so that we can say, well, maybe that will work good.
Councilman Hoots has been generous enough. We've probably had a dozen meetings
Oh,
already.
okay, well, good.
Filling me in on what needs to be done, so we're not dropping any balls.
Oh, okay.
There's an awful lot to be done. It comes in waves, and I'm not saying that Bob can't do it. I'm saying it's wrong for us to task them with that over and above everything else they've got to do. But we'll give him as much help as we can give him and try to make sure we close all the loops and don't overlook anything.
Some work has already been in progress. Is that correct? I mean, some work has been done.
We've got a couple applications online, and we're going to have another one online after Monday's meeting with the Overstrike Commission. And we should have a band. They should agree on some sort of a band come Monday night. I'm hoping we'll have a contract in the next council meeting.
So it's progressing. It's
We're moving
ahead.
along.
That's
Oh, yeah.
right. Nothing's on hold. That's good.
Do you feel comfortable with doing that until we make another decision, if we do or if we don't? As far as whatever.
Rough choice. No, we can do it.
You can
Honest.
submit an invoice for less than $10,000.
There you go. That was split with Kim and Kathleen.
If he does it well, we're gonna name you Potentate.
We should be fine until we get real close to the overstep, and we will need, assistance. Like Harvey said, when it comes to, 200 vendors sending in their application, and they all want to be in, and you can only have 50, that's when you got to start deciding who you want, who can do it, and check the references, things like that.
Does anybody else have any comments or discussion? Next thing is presentation by citizens. This is where anyone who would like to address council on anything, whether it's on the agenda or not, may do so at this time. And I'll recognize Mr. Cope first.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know Paul, I know Harvey, and I met Mr. Brown this morning, and Whit, and Kathy, good to see you. And also Mr. Walker, I haven't met you yet, but it's good to meet you.
Meet you, sir.
Thank you. This is not of great concern to you as far as something bad. It's something that's good. With all of the turmoil that is happening in the U.S. of A. and in the world today, we've decided that as a church, we would like to do some volunteer work in the town of Irmo. And we'd like to invite maybe one or two other churches to join with us. Now, Mr. Brown and also Mr. Klein have given us a couple of options already, and I went ahead and drove to the park, the community park behind Macedonia Baptist over there. And I see what you mean. The red clay, no leaves, and the ground is just uncovered. But we would like to volunteer to do something that would be of benefit to the town of Irmo. We love to do that. We've worked the median right up to the post office. We've done that before. We've cleared parts behind the lizard's thicket in the brush. And we've done a graveyard site. We've painted. We've done the Veterans Park. So we enjoy doing things like that. And we felt that if we could join with a couple of other churches, that we could all do it together. And then I would like to have some media coverage just to kind of put Irmo in the spotlight there. So I would love to do that. So I'm just asking if that sounds pretty good to you. It did, I think, to our administrator and Mr. Klein. Do you have any suggestions, though? They gave us two, and we just jumped right in and fell for both of those. We want to do it on a Saturday, and it will be sometime in the middle of April, and it will go for about between 4 and 5 hours, and that's it. We don't want to do a lot because people will get worn out, and they'll just kind of start moaning and groaning, and the kids will be running all over the place. So we'd like to do it and make it short and simple and very sweet. And if any of you have an idea of something in the town of Irmo that you think needs done, if you would just jot it down, just one idea would be fine. Otherwise, we're going to go with the two that the town administrator and Mr. Klein have already given us. So we feel that we can do that. We can accomplish those tasks and make things a little better. I personally don't ever go to the community park over there. I go to this one, but that's only when Joe Wilson comes or when they're selling things or whatever else. But I intend to take my family over to that community park now, and I think it would be great for our kids to slide the slides and do the monkey bars and whatever else is over there. And I did look at the picnic tables and where they were shed, and it appears as though the one on the right looks pretty good. The one on the left, and I'm facing northwest, the one on the left is the one that looks bad. But we would be very happy to do that. And I feel if we could get 2 more churches to join in with us, we could probably come up with about 75 people to do this and work together. And with media coverage, I think it would really look good for the town of Irmo. If this sounds okay to you, and I would appreciate it, jot down one thing that you would like for us to consider, and we would be glad to do that, and we will naturally check it out with the administrator and see if that meets his approval, because we know it meets yours if you wrote it down. But that's all I had tonight, and just something that we'd like to volunteer our time for to make things a little better. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to address council?
Good evening, George Glassmore, 110 Beck Road. One suggestion perhaps comes to mind, sir, and this happens at least once a year. Isn't there a Saturday cleanup where residents of the town can come and participate in the Keep America Beautiful thing? You know anything about that, Chief?
Don't know anything about it, sir.
I didn't think so. What kind of turnout do we get on that? I don't know. That's one suggestion I have.
Probably depends on the weather, because last time
It was pretty cold when we did last time. We didn't have many people show up, but it was very cold and breezy.
Yeah, he'd love you if you did that. So, the other thing I want to talk about is Al Karst. I've known him almost as long as I've lived in Irmo, and I'm quite the World War II history buff. And I don't know that there's many other World War II combat veterans that live in Irmo that are still alive besides him. If there are, I'd like to meet him. And I can tell you, I've spoken to him about where he's been and what he's done, and it's kind of hard to, he always talks about what everybody else did that was with him and not what he did. But he participated in at least 3 major combat campaigns in the Pacific in which a lot of Marines died. And I would applaud any effort to recognize him. I support that, and I'd be delighted to contribute financially to any effort for him. I think we certainly not need to overlook him. He's one of our most outstanding citizens, and I have the greatest respect for everything he did for this country. And he endured a lot of hardship and saw a heck of a lot of combat in World War II, and I respect him more than almost anybody else I know. So again, I applaud any effort and encourage and recommend that the town do something for him, and please put me down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I make a suggestion for Al Karst?
Sure.
We got a beautiful community park. He's gonna shoot me. What if we bought a flagpole for the community park and erected the flagpole and flag in honor of Al Karst? And I know one other World War II combat veteran, was Paul Younger's daddy, Furman, I think walked all the way through Europe with one of the, was it Patton? Who was he with, Paul?
Don't put me on the spot.
Okay. But he was a World War II combat veteran too. But I would think about, I don't know what it would cost, but a really nice flagpole with the American flag and the South Carolina flag under it with a plaque that says in memory of Al Karst. We just got another donation of money over here, but I got $500 in the deal, whatever y'all decide to do.
We don't have a flagpole there.
We don't have a flag in the community park.
You're right.
If you upset, we didn't have a flag next to it.
Why not?
Huh? Be upset with what?
We didn't have a Marine Corps flag right next to it.
We've got all the service flags over in the Veterans Park.
We do, yeah.
You can get some prices on different stuff and kind of, I like that idea you mentioned too about
In your
the
spare
other time
time.
when you had other people's names, we might
In your
need to
spare
make it
time.
some kind of, something for that too.
So you gotta,
I'll look into that for you.
You might even have, I don't know that guy from the American Legion one time. I have to find that guy's name somewhere.
That's a good
Over
idea.
here on Patty Grove that way. He came to speak to us, that day about using our park for Veterans Day or something. I got his name somewhere.
I got it.
He might have some ideas about stuff too. Anyone else who'd like to address Irmo County Council? Seeing none, executive session, any no? Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye.